Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kyle Hood, Division Director for Community Development. I want to thank you so much for joining us today in what we hope will be an educational but also entertaining session about the power of planning. A little effort to seek out opportunities for collaboration can result in big benefits to communities, especially those that are small, rural, under-resourced, or facing other hardships. As we begin today's session, I want to ensure that everyone gets the very best experience they can, so please be sure to keep your mic muted during the presentation. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type them into the chat bar or utilize the raise your hand function. If you actually raise your real hand, we won't see it. I've done that twice already, sorry. We'll save all the questions until the end, but I'll do my best to read them during the panel Q&A session so that they can be answered before we end the presentation. If we do not get to all of the questions today, we'll get them answered by the participants or staff and send them out afterwards. All of today's session will be recorded, which means I will try to be on my best behavior. You should too. And we will be available after the conference to you others who are unable to attend today's session. At the conclusion of the session, you will receive an evaluation at the email that you registered with. Please make sure to complete it. We value your feedback on how we can continue to deliver meaningful content and enjoyable experiences. But there will also be an opportunity to engage in follow-up activities with planning and community development staff.
What is it? It should be right there.
Now, hold on just 1 second. If you've called in on a phone, please also be sure to mute your phone. Thank you.
And also, don't be doing that while driving. This is Hands-Free Georgia. It's important to remember that all of the materials that we discussed today, the presentation itself, is available to rewatch just in case you missed something. But if you're looking for a cheat sheet on the session itself, it's this. Planning has never been more significant than it is today, especially for those that are in need of redevelopment and recovery. Documents are only as good as the effort to execute them, and none of the best ones were done in isolation. Be thoughtful in your plan design, be inclusive, and don't let the fear of failure keep you from starting today. Like later today, but wait until the session is over.
We're still hearing someone's conversation. If you would please mute yourself. Thank you very much.
All right, so part of the activities that we'll do today are to utilize our polling function within the webinar and training platform. And so momentarily you'll see a poll question. It's live on the screen, so go ahead and click which of the options best fit you as a representative today. Once you've done that, hit submit.
It looks like about 70% of you have voted. If you would like to participate, please do so now. We'll be closing the poll shortly.
This is practice for November the 3rd. If you don't vote, you don't count. All right. So it looks like of the, let's see, how many folks are with us currently? There are a little over 100 of you online, and 37 roughly of you represent a city. About 10 of you represent counties or consolidated governments. The regional commissions are out in full force at 38% as well. We also have about 15% of folks that are not necessarily representing a public entity, but are either consultants or others, which is great. Welcome to you guys as well. All right. So today, the rest of the session will be primarily led by Ebony Simpson. Ebony is the Planning, Outreach, and Training Coordinator for the Office of Planning at the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. She began her second tour of duty with DCA 9 years ago and recently received her AICP certification. In addition to being a wife, a mother of 2 boys, and recently a part-time school teacher, she oversees the PlanFirst Program, the Community Planning Institute, and planning and outreach opportunities for DCA's office. Please quietly, since you're muted, welcome my friend and your host, Ebony Simpson.
Thank you, Kyle, for that wonderful presentation and introduction. Before we get into the meat of the presentation, which is hearing from our 2 featured PlanFirst communities, I wanted to briefly describe the PlanFirst program. There we go. The PlanFirst program is a program that rewards and recognizes communities that have successfully and consistently implemented their comprehensive plan in an exemplary fashion. DCA felt it was important to create a resource to help communities continue to implement their comprehensive plan, and they called it PlanFirst. The PlanFirst program was created in 2014, with the first communities being designated in 2015. The program offers a 3-year designation with the opportunity to reapply at the end of the 3 years. Now that you know what the PlanFirst program is, I want to describe the why. Why would a community be interested in the PlanFirst program? It's all about incentives. First and foremost is statewide recognition for outstanding planning and implementation. One initiative that we've done is to highlight some of our PlanFirst success stories on the DCA blog. Some of you may have seen those stories this past summer. We also created a story map to coincide with those success stories that were highlighted, and I'll share that map with you shortly. Secondly, there is an opportunity for eligible communities to apply annually for the Community Development Block Grant funding. And then there is the loan rate reduction incentive. It includes a 1% rate reduction on certain DCA loans. Those three programs are the Employment Incentive Program, the Redevelopment Fund, and the Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund. And those 3 programs are essentially community-related programs that bolster economic development and job creation in those communities that apply for those programs. And then also in the loan rate reduction sector is a 0.5% interest rate reduction on certain GFA state loans. And GFA state loans are essentially loans that communities apply for when it comes to stormwater or water issues in their community. All PlanFirst communities receive 2 free registrations at any community planning institute. And CPI typically happens twice a year, depending and the location changes depending on where we are and just where we want to go. And then last but not least, our communities receive assistance from DCA staff on plan implementation activities. One thing I would like to note under this last sector, if a community applies for the PlanFirst program and their application is denied, application review and assistance is provided if it's requested. So now that you've heard about those incentives that coincide with the PlanFirst program, which incentives sound most enticing to you?
It's really unfortunate that we couldn't add another option, because hanging out with Ebony would have probably been the #1 response.
It looks like about half of you have voted. Please go ahead and vote if you would like. We'll be closing the poll soon.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay, not a whole bunch of surprise there, I guess. 74% of the respondents at least clicked the CDBG eligibility. We find that is probably the most often used. And in some of our follow-up that I mentioned that will be a part of the evaluation after the presentation today, what we'll do is try to solicit additional input on how these incentives could be made more attractive. The ones, the CPI registration or the community awards and recognition, for instance, that came in near the bottom of the rankings, how those could be improved, or if there are other incentives that we're not currently offering that you believe would be beneficial in helping to carry out some of the planning activities and projects that you guys have going on in your communities.
Yes, and the CDBG incentive is, like Kyle said, the most popular, and it has a really good potential, like great potential to create like to make a really big impact in your community. There's a community that is PlanFirst that literally got that CDBG award for 3 years in a row, and they brought over $1.5 million in award funding to their community. So the difference, or that incentive, is amazing. And awesome and life-changing for that community. It brought in stormwater and jobs to that community. So yes, the CDBG award or an incentive is definitely a plus. Okay, so now that you've heard a little bit about the PlanFirst program and the incentives, I would like to quickly go through the application process. Applications are due annually on May 15th. Please note that on this cover page that we ask that an authorized official sign the application. As with the comp planning process, we like to see inclusion from leadership, ensuring that they are aware that you're applying for the program. The application is anchored around these 4 indicators listed on the left side of the slide, and they are goals, leadership, participation, and implementation. But before we discuss those, let's discuss the prerequisites section. The prerequisites section is located on page 2 of the application and is completed by DCA planning staff, but I think that it's worth reviewing and checking on your own before you begin the application process, ensuring that you're eligible for the program before spending time on completing the application. The first bullet point states that the applicant has participated in at least 2 local comprehensive plan updates. We want to make sure that the community has a consistent record of long-term comprehensive planning and plan implementation. Secondly, we also want to see that the applicant has a consistent record of maintaining their qualified local government status and submitting required reports to DCA. Here's the part that is a sticking point for some of our applicants. Within 10 years, the applicant cannot lose status more than twice and or not more than 4 weeks collectively. For instance, looking at the May 15, 2020 deadline, if a community lost their QLG status in 2014 for 3 weeks because their comprehensive plan was submitted and approved after its deadline, and then that community loses it again in 2017 for 2 weeks because their report of local government finance was 2 weeks late, adding those 2 incidences together, the community lost their QLG status for a total of 5 weeks within a 10-year period, which means they would not have been eligible for the program for the 2020 application round. There's a webpage on DCA's website that tells you your current eligibility status, but in order to confirm the 10-year in good standing requirement, I recommend that you contact DCA's planning office or your regional commission. Speaking of regional commissions, let's move to the next point. The applicant must have attained the minimum performance standards that have been set by their regional commission. Once again, I recommend that you contact your regional commission regarding this matter. Within the next bullet point, we are making sure that your projects and activities listed in your community work program are action items that are true action items. They're not goals, they're not policies, but they are clear projects and activities that help you achieve your goals listed in your comprehensive plan. Finally, we want to see that the applicant is implementing or has implemented the activities and/or projects listed in their comprehensive plan. And we do that by reviewing your report of accomplishments, which is also housed in your comp plan. Now we're moving to the 4 indicators that were listed earlier in the presentation. Let's begin with the first 2. The goals indicator looks at the overarching concepts envisioned in the local comprehensive plan and carried out in the action and implementation elements of the plan. So we want to see that not only your leadership supports your comprehensive plan, but that the community supports it as well. How do you get support? By involving all interested and vested parties throughout the entire planning process. We want to hear how and why they supported the goals listed in their comp plan. We want to make sure your goals are ambitious and achievable. It's great that you accomplish 90% of your projects and activities that support your goals within 2 years, but if that is the case, are those goals ambitious? Does your comprehensive plan steer decisions made by not only your local government, but what about your chamber, your DDA? What about other organizations? And finally, under the goals indicator, are you consistently making progress towards achieving your goals? Looking at the leadership indicator, we want you to discuss how the leadership guides the local comprehensive planning process, as well as discuss that the plan is implemented by guiding day-to-day decision-making. Ultimately, is the plan a priority for your leadership? Do you have an effective planning staff, and are they being trained? We recognize that not all communities are the same size. Smaller communities may not have the resources to have a full-time planner on staff, but the state of Georgia has a tremendous resource, our regional commissions. In many cases, they are your planning arm, but we want to hear all about that. We want to hear the details. Do you have an active planning commission? Do they meet on a regular basis? Are they trained? What about your local elected officials? Are they being trained in community planning matters? And then finally, it takes a village to raise a child. Who do you partner with to make projects a reality? Once again, do you partner with the chamber, your development authority, the private sector, and or other sister local governments? The list of partners can go on and on. The third indicator that applicants discuss is participation. Engagement, engagement, engagement. Each element of your local comprehensive plan must be prepared with opportunity for involvement and input from stakeholders and the general public, ensuring that the plan reflects community needs and values. We want to see that you go above and beyond the legal requirements for community input. Once you've obtained your community's input, did you actually incorporate it into your plan? Did your steering committee guide the process, or was it just the staff? We also want to see that you've made every effort to reach all demographics in your community. Did you meet them where they are? Were your meetings times convenient for everyone? And finally, do you have advocates, not only during the planning process, but while implementing your plan as well? Sandy Springs does a really good job with having plan advocates. The final indicator is implementation. Your local comprehensive plan should lay out specific activities that the community plans to undertake following plan adoption. We want to make sure that your comprehensive plan is a living, breathing document. Do you have action items and not goals or policy in your community work program? Do the activities listed in your work program address the needs in your community, or are they arbitrary? Do you have a good track record of implementing your projects and activities listed in your plan? Is your capital budget tied to your comp plan? So when you and your fellow leaders sit down annually to discuss your budget, do you consider the activities listed in your comp plan? And finally, we like to see recent project examples. We recognize that there are big projects that may take 20 years to come to fruition, but still, we like to see what you're currently working on or have recently finished. Now that I've gone through the application, here are some of the lessons learned from the reviewer standpoint. Please check all prerequisites before submitting the application. If you don't request it, we don't check your eligibility until after the May 15th deadline. Please be specific when answering the questions. Paint a picture, tell a visual story, answer all of the questions within the questions. For example, we know that you have a planning commission because you've included documentation, but why not complete the question and list them or state why they were chosen to serve on the board? Those are easy points that are often missed. Once again, make sure you answer the question in its entirety. Link everything to your comprehensive plan. After all, this is what the program is about. Please utilize your regional commission. They are excellent resources. At the very least, ask them to review what you wrote. It doesn't hurt to have an extra set of eyes. Be purposeful when adding photos. Seeing professional shots of your planning commission is nice, but I think the limited space in your application is better utilized by showing pictures of projects or plan implementation. Make sure your letters of support are specific to partnerships that link to projects or activities listed in your plan. Generic letters do not boost your application score. Finally, we've noticed that the answers are all around more intentional. Applicants are now focusing on their comp plan, which is what reviewers want to see. So now that we've finished that roller coaster ride of the PlanFirst program, we're going to segue to our feature presenters. But before we do, I want to share with you a map of all of our PlanFirst communities. We currently have a total of 37 communities in the program. We just completed the application process for our 2021 designees. I'm very excited to share with you a sneak peek of our 2021 communities. Our new designees are the cities of Bainbridge, Cornelia, and Sandy Springs. The renewal designees are the cities of Adel, Perry, Thomasville, Tifton, Vienna, Woodstock, and Jones County. Congratulations to our newest designees. Before I leave this slide, I wanted to share with you that screenshot in that top right-hand corner. This is essentially our success story map that we created as a way to recognize some of the amazing projects that our communities are accomplishing. And they have really, really cool pictures that go along with that particular web page. So please, if you're interested, I would love to share the link to that, to our Georgia Success Story map page. Now for the best part. This is the portion that always excites me, hearing from our communities. First, you're going to hear from Rhonda Rowe with the City of Adel. And then you'll hear from Jesse Owensby with the City of Cornelia. They are both part of our 2021 group of designees. Woohoo! Rhonda, I'm going to turn the reins over to you. Before you get started, can you briefly introduce yourself to our studio audience? Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Rowe. I'm the city clerk and the assistant city manager for the City of Adel. I've been employed with the city for 34 years, so I've seen many changes and witnessed the challenges and opportunities that often come to cities. Just to tell you where Adel is located, we're in South Georgia along Interstate 75 with a population of approximately 5,300. We are proud that Adel was designated a PlanFirst community for the first time in 2018, a designation we are both humbled and proud to receive. Today, we are going to discuss the recent opportunities and challenges that we were presented with as we navigated the waters of healthcare collaboration in our community. The 2015 Greater Cook County Comprehensive Plan Update, under the Community Facility and Services section, lists as an opportunity, maintain the quality of the existing hospital system. Inevitably, in 2016, we were faced with the impending closure and discontinuance of a hospital facility for the City of Adel in Cook County. Hospital officials first notified the city and county elected officials in late 2016 of their impending closure of the Cook Medical Center and emergency room due to several reasons that included the deteriorating condition of the existing hospital structure. The current structure was very aged, probably built in the 50s, early 60s. It, of course, had asbestos. They had actually rehabilitated a couple of the nursing home rooms, and when the asbestos was found, they found that it was going to cost more to rehabilitate the hospital, and it just was not worth the investment. They were also handicapped in the ability to expand inpatient and outpatient surgery, as they were out of space with no room to expand. And finally, and which was huge for them, loss of revenue. The emergency room actually closed in February 2017 after incurring more than $13 million in losses that had been experienced since 2012. According to hospital officials, 95% of the patients being served at the emergency room did not require actual emergency care. And unfortunately, many patients were abusing the use of emergency facilities as a means to obtain prescriptions. Elected officials, knowing the negative impact of the hospital closing, began to discuss options and look for alternative solutions. As a community, we could not afford to lose the county's second largest employer. 260 people would be out of work, along with the added displacement of 90 nursing home residents. The long-term effects in attracting new industry, businesses, and residents to a community that no longer had a hospital facility could be detrimental to the forward progress our community had strived to achieve for many years. Hospital officials presented a plan for a new replacement facility. However, it would only be possible with local financial assistance to complete the $50 million project. The idea was marketed to our residents through public meetings conducted by local governments, media outlets, and hospital partners. It was then presented to state and federal representatives for potential funding sources. There were three main obstacles for local participation, and they included the buy-in of public officials, public opinion, and the financing challenges. The Hospital Authority of Tift County owned the hospital, and they required local financial participation before they would agree to new construction of a replacement facility. There were several public meetings held to disseminate information about the cost and benefit of a new hospital facility, as well as the possibility of the present hospital closing down. Many public officials needed justification to participate in providing health care, while others recognized the economic impact to a community that were without a facility. Public opinion was dissatisfied that there would not be an emergency room, and financing challenges were felt by those trying to determine how the local community could support the requested amount. This project was met with heightened local interest as one of the largest crowds in recent memory attended the March 6, 2017 County Commission meeting with well over 200 concerned citizens and hospital employees in attendance. A petition with nearly 700 signatures from registered voters supporting the new facility was presented. This historical meeting resulted in a unanimous decision to begin work on a memorandum of understanding and an intergovernmental agreement for the hospital replacement facility with an investment from Cook County in the amount of $5 million over a 30-year period. The decision was reciprocated with the elected officials of the City of Adel fully endorsing the project as well, with an investment of $4 million plus approximately $1,750,000 in infrastructure improvements to service the facility at the proposed new location. Assistance from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs in the form of a CDBG grant for $750,000 help to offset these infrastructure costs. This project was realized due to the collaborative efforts of the Hospital Authority of Tift County, the Cook County Economic Development Commission, Adel Industrial Development Authority, City of Adel, Cook County, and its citizens. A period of 27 months lapsed from the initial discussions to local funding commitments. And one of the ways also that the Adel Industrial Development Authority and Economic Development Commission played such a positive role in this is that the forestry department was actually located on the site that was the perfect location for the hospital to be built. So those entities worked with them to move their facility to a new location, and then the hospital was built where the forestry location was presently at. This facility is a new model for healthcare in rural communities. The replacement facility is a destination facility for specialty surgery services. The model includes an urgent care center with extended hours that could better serve the needs of the community, a surgical center, inpatient facilities, nursing home, geriatric psychiatric center, and related medical facilities. It is imperative that our community have a healthcare system to serve the needs of our citizenry, as demonstrated by the destructive effects that losing hospitals has created on two similar-sized rural South Georgia locations. Those cities are now a shadow of former thriving communities. The site chosen for the new Southwel Medical Center is situated adjacent to I-75 at exit 37. This facility is spurring economic development along this interchange and the related corridor. The months of planning to orchestrate the retention and new construction of a medical center not only saved 260 jobs, but created an additional 100 new positions. Southwel Medical Center opened on October 1st, 2019, with over a dozen surgeries completed on day one. The surgery center is staffed by physicians from Tift and Lowndes County, which makes our facility and community marketable to residents of those communities as well, since they will drive to Adel for services. During the first month of operation, growing pains were experienced and a determination noted that several areas need expanding. In addition, the city has received several inquiries by investors and retail establishments interested in locating at the exit 37 interchange. Future plans are continuing to develop as Southwel has announced the construction of an emergency room as well as expansion of the surgery center. And in conclusion, we're proud to say that this project was included in the application that resulted in the City of Adel being designated as one of 9 cities across the state of Georgia to be awarded the inaugural Visionary City Award, sponsored by the Georgia Municipal Association and Georgia Trend magazine last year. So to say that we are proud of the collaboration that was done between all of our community partners to allow us to continue to have a healthcare system in our community goes without saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. As we know, in a lot of our rural communities, some of the hospitals are struggling, but this is a true success story. And so we really thought that this should be highlighted and a spotlight should be shown on it. Next, we have Jessie Owensby. Jessie? Jessie, are you still there?
Hey, can y'all hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Okay, yay. You can hear me now?
we sure can.
Okay. If at any point you can't hear me, yell at me or something. Okay. Hey, y'all. My name is Jessie Owensby, and I'm the Community Development Manager for the City of Cornelia. I've been here about 5 years. I first started with Main Street and DDA and transitioned over to more economic development for the whole city. And then I transitioned to economic development and planning and zoning. So we kind of tag team that. We're a small community. We are located in Northeast Georgia. We have a population of around 4,900. So we're pretty small. But we service a large portion of our region because we are the central community in our region too. So I'll start with our SWOT analysis. Our Downtown Development Authority created a SWOT analysis during their planning retreat in December of 2017. We shared that with our city commissioners, who concurred with the SWOT analysis and decided that they would use that during the public input portion of the comp plan update that happened in 2018. So the SWOT analysis was on display during the open houses and the public input meetings. It was talked about during every steering committee meeting. And then the DDA board members actually stood by to help explain that to the public and where they got the information and their opinions and why they did it the way they did it. So several of the projects that ended up on our comp plan are a result of this SWOT analysis. Most of these, from really small projects to incredibly large projects, they've been in collaboration with another entity, whether that be the Chamber or the Girl Scouts or the DDA or the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Basically, the city doesn't do anything without collaboration, honestly. So one of the items on the comp plan was to create an urban redevelopment agency and an urban redevelopment plan. And that was formed just about 2 months after our comprehensive plan was approved in October of 2018. This urban redevelopment agency serves as a group of people who can help with bonds and help funding some of these projects. The Urban Redevelopment Agency has 9 projects that it wanted to help fund. 6 of those are currently either in progress or have been completed. The city collaborates with the DDA and the Urban Redevelopment Agency to help fund all of these projects using the different funding platforms that those 2 entities are eligible for that the city is not. The photo in the slide is actually our new municipal complex, which was just completed in August, and my office is right over there somewhere. And it was a big project. It was $11.5 million. It also included a new police station, which is on the right side of the building, and a new fire station as well, which is not in the picture, but it's just adjacent to the municipal hall. So that was one of the really big projects in our comp plan as well. Another priority item that we came up with was better gateway and wayfinding signage. This project has required a ton of collaboration between the DDA and all of our business owners in the downtown, as well as the city and the chamber. It was also a recommendation from the Explore Georgia Tourism Product Development Team. They came and did a visit in 2017, and better signage was one of their recommendations. So we did some different kind of out of the box things to complete this project. The first thing we did was we reached out to the different businesses in our downtown to gauge the interest. The city absolutely did not have the money to fund this project 100%, so we needed the businesses help, we needed them also to have some skin in the game, because we felt like if they were willing to pay to have their name on it, that they would stick around longer, and that those businesses were here to stay for a little while longer. So we asked the businesses who wanted a listing to pay for the panel fabrication with the listing, and then the city offered to pay for the design, fabrication, and installation. So we identified 10 locations around downtown and within downtown. And then we also did a downtown directory at the city center. Some businesses, they just got up to 7 or 8 of these. They wanted their name on every sign they could find. Some of them only did 1, and some of them only did the downtown directory, and it was just dependent upon how much they wanted to advertise their business. So the businesses paid for their portion, and the city paid for the remainder of the balance with community development funds and hotel motel tax dollars. Rotary, the Civic Club, also got involved, and they donated some funding to help pay for the signs as well. Once they were installed, other businesses started ringing my phone off the hook. And so we now have a waiting list for a second round of signage that will be starting in 2021 to kind of help with that. We also have this downtown directory that you see on your left. It's in the city center. It's in the heart of our downtown. So the hardware is permanent. As you can see, it was installed into the concrete, but the actual print can be reprinted and replaced anytime in-house. We can do it on our plotter that we have, and so it's just very easy. As new businesses come in and want to be listed, we can just reprint a new one. We've already replaced it twice since we installed this, and it's due for a third. So we're going to be doing that pretty soon. This was so popular with the mayor and commissioners that they also asked us to do the same thing with one of our historic sites, which is Chenecita Tower. It's the only granite fire tower in the United States. And so it's very good for photography and history buffs, and they wanted a sign like that up at the tower. So we had another one of these made, and we can reprint that as we need to, but we don't really need to. So yeah. Okay, so another project was the gateway signage. This gateway signage will in the future be located at Highway 365 North and South, which is the big highway that runs through our city. So what we did here was the city entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Chamber of Commerce. The chamber agreed to do the design, the project management, and pay for it. And the city agreed to work with the chamber and maintain the signs in perpetuity. So the chamber created a committee which included a city representative, which was me, and they worked closely with GDOT for the locations and the permits for the signs, and working with sign companies to get renderings and quotes and bids from sign companies. So these are a couple of the hand-drawn rough drafts that the chamber committee came up with. And then the final graphic is here. So the city applied for a tourism product development grant because it was one of the recommendations, but we did not get that grant due to lack of funding. So the city decided to help pay for the sign because I think our commissioners really knew that it was a high need for our community, and so they got on board anyway, with or without the grant. That project is just about ready for installation. It's in production now, so it should be complete by the beginning of 2021. The next project was a collaboration with the DDA to complete the Apple Tree Alley Streetscape project. This project was first put on the docket in 2013 before I even got here, and nothing ever happened with it. So when I started in 2015, there was this beautiful rendering in my office from DCA's Design Services. And I started asking questions like, why is this not done? Why is this not a priority? It's right in the middle of our downtown. It's this big parking lot. It needs a revamp, a complete revamp. There's a safety issue with patrons who are coming in and out of the buildings. And so the DDA took over the project in late 2017. And we also got a ton of help from GMRC. Lauren Yoder, she has been to the DDA planning retreats and has been able to give her input on that as well. So this streetscape project was able to make it to the comprehensive plan, and it's also on the urban redevelopment plan. What you're looking at right now is the DDA's 2020 work plan, which they go step by step. And as you can see, they take a priority and create the action steps and they get it done. So anyway, when I started asking questions, I started saying, why are we not doing this? And we really need to do this. And I kept getting the answer, find the money and we'll do it. We don't have any money. If you can find the money, we'll do it. So, so I worked with GMRC to apply for a USDA grant, which we received in the amount of $99,900. So the DDA is the project manager for this, and the city is funding the remaining balance and helping with engineering and the bid process. The businesses who are located in these buildings that you see here, they will be affected by this, and they're all on board, even though it'll be inconvenient for a time because this is a public parking lot. The long-term benefits are there, and so we had to get the collaborative efforts from the property owners as well to get permission for the lighting in the alley and the different logistics and closing the parking lot and things like that. So, so we got the grant in 2019, and we completed the preliminary engineering in the summer of 2020 this year. And we just awarded this project last night at our city commission meeting. Construction should start at the end of October with a 4 to 6 month construction period. They'll play a key role in not only completing one of the projects on the comp plan, but it is also a catalyst for other projects within our comp plan, such as creation of downtown living, sidewalk improvements, lighting improvements. It'll encourage walkability, redeveloping our old historic bank building, which is currently under renovation as we speak. So it did more than just one thing. Another project was the green space that the DDA found it was highly needed. They identified a huge focus has been put on downtown in our 2018 comp plan. So in the recession of 2009, our downtown basically died, and it dies after 5 p.m. It's a business service district. We have a lot of professionals, but a big lack of entertainment and retail. So we identified that we need to improve the aesthetics, and that's listed in several places in our comp plan. So the city collaborated with the DDA to get these properties and develop a green space within the central business district. The DDA, though, they don't have a revenue stream. There's no DDRLF, and they're not really funded by anything other than their own fundraising efforts. So the DDA identified a specific piece of property that was municipal owned. It was a non-functional parking lot with 12 spaces, and it was an alley that used to be a building, and so it was kind of wedged between two historic buildings, and it was very hard to get in and out of. One of the building owners wanted to expand his restaurant and create an outdoor dining and bar area so that people would feel comfortable eating there even during COVID. So he was kind of adapting to the COVID and trying to make his restaurant work any way he knew how. So the DDA asked the commissioners to deed the parking lot to them, which they did. The DDA then subdivided the property and leased out a portion of it to the restaurant owner. Part of the lease agreement was that the restaurant owner has to build the green space that the DDA wanted to build in the smaller portion. When the green space is complete, the portion with the outdoor dining will be deeded to the restaurant owner. So basically, the property is going to be sold to him for the fair market value of the green space that he's building, and that will be a public green space. Then the DDA will deed the green space back to the city to maintain it and ensure it in perpetuity. This project is currently under construction and should be completed by December. So it was a 4-month-long negotiation. It required extensive collaboration between the city, the DDA, the attorneys, the investors, the utility companies, and all the surrounding businesses. We had to help sell the project to the community. And so our businesses that were surrounding that saw the advantages, and they completely helped sell that project. It was a really weird deal, but we're all about, instead of saying no, we put our heads together and really go out of the box to find a way, to find a creative way. Nobody wants to say no to somebody who is willing to invest money into your community, but we needed to find a way to make it happen. So that's kind of how we came up with that. It also achieved several items on our comp plan, like aesthetics, redevelopment, creating entertainment, sparking new interest for downtown living, and improvement of sidewalks and roads. So Cornelia updated its comp plan in 2018. 71 projects are listed on that plan for the next 10 years. As of today, 52% of those are complete, 11% of those are currently underway, and 63% of the projects on the 2018 comp plan have been started in just the last 2 years. Since adoption of the plan, 86% of the projects that carried over from the previous plan that were postponed for whatever reason have now been completed. None of this happens without the help of other entities. The city relies heavily on the DDA and the chamber, private investors, business owners, and GMRC especially to help navigate ways to complete the projects. So collaboration enables us to do projects we wouldn't normally be able to do because we wouldn't have enough funding to do those projects. We're a really small community with a smaller tax base, and so we don't have enough revenue to do all of these projects without the help of others. So this allows the city to serve the public without raising taxes and complete projects that the community wants, and provide them with the best services without hurting their wallet. Our last tax increase was in 2012 when it went from 8 mills to 8.5. So there you go, the end.
Thank you, Rhonda and Jesse. Those presentations were amazing. I think you all those are two success stories, two communities that are giving us success stories in terms of the importance of collaboration and what a difference it makes. And without partners, some of our projects would not be successful. So I want to wrap up at least our portion of this presentation with telling you a few of the best practices from some of our PlanFirst communities. As you've heard, the planning portion is easy, but implementation and finding funding is the hard part, is the challenge. You must have a plan and a budget to coincide with that plan. Take advantage of the incentives. They are tools to help PlanFirst communities further implement projects. A community may be small and or rural, but having a strong plan in place helps get projects completed. The PlanFirst program showcases all of the things that many of our communities have accomplished. Being a community that stands for planning excellence helps shine a light on a community's planning efforts, especially to your locally elected leadership. At this point, that concludes our portion of the presentation, and I want to turn it back over to our moderator, Kyle. Thank you.
So it sounds like you just need a lot of cooperation from local officials and business owners, and you need Jesse to go out and find you a bunch of money. There you go. Thanks for coming to our TED Talk, everybody. You know, not to make light of what, you know, a lot of communities are dealing with right now is, you know, right now is a great time to find ways to be flexible and to bring in maybe those partners and stakeholders that had previously not been thought of. You know, getting creative. I think that's the big takeaway is that planning documents are stories, right? They're stories. And so, ladies, you both gave great examples of how, you know, facing, you know, considerably large, unavoidable, you know, concerns within your communities, you found ways to work together to, you know, resolve those. So you highlighted what was good about that, but we know that that's not the whole story, right? So what do each of you find, or what have you found to be the most difficult part of true community collaboration? Rhonda, do you want to go first on that one?
Well, of course, everybody has different competing interests, as well as the resources. Everybody wants to make sure that the other entities are doing their fair share, that one project is, you know, is it more important than another? So I think that is probably some of the most difficult parts.
What about you, Jesse?
In my community, it's really been getting the buy-in from the other community members, because I'm selling something that's not tangible. I'm selling the future. And so it's kind of difficult to get the vision that's in my head and that's in the heads of the commissioners. It's really difficult to communicate that vision. You're basically selling air and asking them to trust you and believe you. And that's pretty difficult for me.
And that's actually a great segue into the bigger picture, right? So, you know, the PlanFirst designation is not necessarily the end of the review process, but the recognition that real commitment has been made in each of your communities and those around the state for making positive change for the future. So now that each of you has been either designated or redesignated, what do you hope to do next? Jess, with you.
Oh, okay. Did you say me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're doing a lot of growth and development and a lot of community involvement. We've got a lot of projects that are still incomplete, and a lot of projects, like you had said earlier, something that is happening today has probably been in the works for 10 years, and that's what we've got going on right now. We've got a lot of things happening, but none of these are new projects for the city. They're new to the community, and so that's kind of what we have going on.
All right. And what about you, Rhonda, in City of Adel and Cook County?
Well, the realization of what can happen when everyone works together and everyone shares the load. We now have a tangible project that you can just visually see what kind of impact that can have on our community. One of the things that we will be doing is applying for, of course, additional CDBGs. And now we can, you know, since 2018, we can apply for those every year, being designated a PlanFirst community. So we will, we'll be keeping Kimberly Hobbs and her great team at South Georgia Regional Commission busy, as we'll be applying for those every year. And it gives you the opportunity to think outside the box, to look at situations from all perspectives, and just be transparent in keeping everyone involved. I mean, I think that's important as long as everybody feels like they have a part, that their opinions matter, that you take the time to inform the community of what's going on, that gives you so much buy-in, just to be transparent.
That's great advice. And on that note, we're running short on time, but I did want to give each of you one last opportunity. If there was one thing that didn't come up in the conversation today, or something that you thought of hearing the other presentation, something, one quick 30-second soundbite of advice or encouragement that you would give to those that are on the call or those that will be listening to the session later. Rhonda, we'll stay with you for this one.
Okay, one quick thing piece of advice I would give is for communities that are looking to complete their application for the first time, as you're getting ready to do that, as you're going throughout your year, think about that PlanFirst application. If you have articles that come your way, pictures, things, community, things that are in the newspaper, keep those. And as those projects develop and unfold, keep that information together. And because you can't always recall every project that is going on in a community. So that is a great way to gather the information to help you as you prepare your PlanFirst application.
All right, and Jesse, you get the final word today, which I'm sure you appreciate.
You don't want me to say my final word? No, I would just say whatever you plan to do, have the support of your councilmen or commissioners. They can make or break you. You have to sell your projects to them first, and then sell to the community, and then get that community involvement. But your comprehensive plan is your roadmap. It tells you exactly what to do. So plan your work and then work your plan.
Excellent. I think the only question that came in was from Shamika. So Ebony, if you're still on, the question was about eligible entities, and specifically, would a public housing authority be an eligible applicant for the PlanFirst designation?
The only eligible applicants at this time are local governments. So either a city or a county or a combination of the two.
Okay. But the question that Shamika asked has made me have a lot of thoughts about how we could expand our planning footprint to certainly include other entities like housing authorities and development authorities, whatever. So Shamika, you've given me some homework that I didn't intend on having. So thank you for that. I blame you, but I thank you at the same time. Maybe there's a way to find other ways to work with PHAs and other authorities in future programs and designations like this. Listen, we're closing up shop, and I know everybody wants to go stretch their legs and get ready for the best of best session that starts at 5:15 today. But I wanted to thank each of you for your participation, Ebony and Rhonda and Jesse, and then wanted to thank everybody who made time to join us and listen in. You've got a lot of things going on at home and at work right now, and your commitment to be here with us today shows that you value planning the same way that we do, and your communities are all going to benefit because of that. So thank you. Have a good evening, and be on the lookout for your evaluation and follow-up information from today's panelists and from DCA. So thank you very much. Be well.
Thank you.